on Tester and Maritza Giorgio. We have so much to get to. I just want to say the president is threatening to use the Insurrection Act in my home state of Minnesota after another night of violence, another night of protests, another person shot by ICE. It's a massive discussion that we will get to in a little bit. Do you want to say anything about that,
I
Senator?
mean,
We will get into it.
there's a ton of stuff to say about it, but I just what I would like once for the president to do is look at the situation and assess why the situation is the way it is, instead of just saying we're going to solve this by just putting more and more force on the ground and potentially more and more people lose their lives. It's just not. It's not what sane people do, and it's certainly not what the leader of the country has done in the past. And I will tell you that what happened last week was deplorable with ICE. Um, the video speaks for itself, and the fact that you've got people that are saying, "Hey, we're leaving these departments if you guys want us to try to come up with some different conclusion than what was obviously the case." And so, if you want to tamp the situation down, um, uh, you know, go after what you said you were going to go after, and that was the criminal immigrants. That's not what's going on right now, and it's destroying neighborhoods and it's destroying this country, in my opinion.
Okay, so today we have a conversation with PBS White House correspondent and my friend Liz Landers. Liz has done some incredible work. We wanted to chat with her not only about that, but also kind of the state of public broadcasting right now and what it's like to be a White House press correspondent right now. We are going to do headlines, but first, let's talk about you because you found yourself in the headlines. I'm not talking about a car auction either. I've had a lot of people saying, "Hey, what is this about? Look at this. Did you see this?" And there was this headline that said, "Tester rips Democrat signals support for UN president as best bet to challenge Dane." So I wanted to give you kind of an opportunity to respond before we get to this very important news happening in Minneapolis this morning.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Look, the headline implies that I no longer support the Democratic Party, which couldn't be further from the truth. I've spent the last 25 years, quite frankly, working to make sure that the Democratic Party can win, and that not only goes for Montana, but it's around the country. And by the way, I failed miserably, because quite honestly, when I first got in the state legislature, well, actually when I left the state legislature, there was a majority of Democrats in the Montana Senate and a tie in the House. Now it's far different from that. When I got the U.S. Senate, there were Democratic senators from North Dakota and Arkansas and Louisiana and Iowa, and those are all gone, and in Montana, and they're all gone. And we talk about what's going on with ICE, and we talk about what's transpiring in the country now from a civil liberties and freedom standpoint. And I think there's a direct correlation there. And so I'm going to continue to try to help push the Democratic Party in a way that will hopefully allow them to win some races moving forward. Because I am a Democrat. My folks were Democrats. My grandparents were FDR Democrats, and they believe in things like tax equity and small business and family farm and ranch agriculture and the things that I think and education and the things that I think are really important to this country that Democrats need to talk more about. So we'll continue to do that, and we'll continue to work to make to keep, I should say, this country the greatest country. And Montana, in my opinion, is the greatest state in that greatest country that's ever existed. But man, I got to tell you, Maritza, the stuff that's been going on in the last year has been nothing short of insanity. It's crazy, and I know there's a I know there's a lot of folks that email and me every day and text me every day saying, what can we do? And that's part of the problem. But what we're going to talk about, because the truth is, unless Congress steps up to the plate and does something instead of just rubber stamping policies by the administration, we're going to continue to see what I see this country devolve. Prime example, we invaded Venezuela, and if going into a country, a sovereign nation, and taking their leader is an invasion, I don't care if Maduro's a bad guy or not. That goes contrary to international law. And now we're going to build Venezuela while rural America is hurting big dog. I mean, there's farmers that are on the verge of going broke. There's farmers that are saying, I can't afford to keep doing this because I can't make the books balance and they're going to quit. I mean, all that's about food security. It's about rural America. And we're going to focus on rebuilding Venezuela. Give me a fucking break. This is ridiculous. At any rate, that's just one thing. But we did talk to Liz Landers today about some things going on in Minnesota that I know you want to get to, Maritza, and so do I. So go ahead.
Okay, so that's your statement.
For now,
Okay, so let's get to this. I want to talk about Minnesota. It's really hard to watch what's happening there. And this is, of course, where I grew up, my home city. And I think what's alarming to me is that I'm hearing from friends, family, people I know there, other journalists that say we are not getting the full picture because you just can't. And I know that from covering things like hurricanes, right? You go down and you try to show people what's happening, but the effect is so widespread. And so basically what is happening right now is the president is threatening in a new truth social post to use the Insurrection Act. So this was last used in 1992 during the LA riots. That was around the brutality and the police beating of Rodney King. So what this is it would allow the president to actually deploy military troops to police U.S. citizens. I want to point out a few numbers though, and the Minneapolis Star Tribune has really done amazing work here. But as they pointed out in something they posted, I guess 2 days ago now, a potential 3,000 federal agents will be 5 times the manpower of the Minneapolis Police Department, and that's what's estimated to be in Minneapolis when this is said and done. That's just like the current surge, not even talking about the Insurrection Act. That's according to the Star Tribune. It would be 1 agent per 1,000 residents. I'm hearing, like I said, it's worse on the ground than we know. And then the Star Tribune editorial board published, maybe do I have it? Let me see if I have it here. They basically published an op-ed, and it said, oh, wait. Let me see. See, this is what happens when you're live. This is what happens when you're live.
we're all alive. That's good.
Oh, we are live. It said this, the editorial, Minnesota is under siege. This cannot stand. And it says basically that it feels like a military occupation there. Quote, non-citizen immigrants without legal status make up roughly 1.5% of Minnesota's population, less than half the national average. Nothing about that figure justifies the scale, posture, or tactics now widely deployed. So this is all happening, and the president is threatening this. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the only thing that this smacks of is something that I didn't realize until a few weeks ago is that Governor Walsh ran as vice president, and this is the
You
way.
didn't know he did that?
Well, I know he did that, but I didn't make the connection that this is why Minnesota is the pinnacle of this focus. And quite frankly, read those if you listen, if you wind this back and listen to those statistics Maritza just read, it does not justify what's going on with these huge surges of manpower. And we've gotten information that they're going door to door and rousting.
Mhm.
I mean, this is
I'm gonna play some video while you keep talking, but this is from last night. Yeah, I mean, that we are hearing they're going door to door, and another person was shot last night by ICE agents, the second in a week. So there are a lot of questions being asked. Meanwhile, Minnesota investigators are not being allowed access to evidence by the feds.
look at those pictures. I mean, where are we at? Is this really Minnesota? Is this really Minneapolis, Minnesota?
Yeah,
Uh,
it really is.
and
It really
tax-
is.
taxpayer dollars are paying for that, or it's being debt put on our kids to pay for it. It's crazy. I mean, I get it. We need to make sure that the folks who are illegally aren't here and they go back to their homeland. But the truth is, this has gone far, far, far beyond that. And the proof of the pudding is a U.S. citizen woman, 37 years old, mother of three, with teddy bears in the jockey box of her car, got shot in the head 3 times last week. I mean, this is crazy. It's just crazy. While she's trying to leave the scene, doesn't make any sense.
We are going to talk more about this. We actually have a special episode tomorrow that we are going to have live here on Substack and YouTube, and that's with Liz Oyer, the former pardon attorney with the DOJ. And she is going to come on and kind of talk about all of this, talk about the investigation, talk about some of the issues that we're seeing, talk about what's legal and what's not, because there's just a lot of muddied information. So we were going to dig into Minneapolis more, but I just wanted to share some of that with you before we get to other headlines, because it's really, I think, going to keep taking up some of the oxygen. We want to say also that the U.S. seized a sixth oil tanker today in the Caribbean, linked to Venezuela. Meanwhile, we saw GOP senators block a war powers resolution that some thought actually might pass. That was after some five Republicans, I think, broke with their party to advance it last week. So the president raged on social media against them, called for them to lose their seats. And then Senate Majority Leader John Thune flipped two back in line, and the final vote was 51-50. Senator Josh Hawley said that Secretary of State Marco Rubio eased some of his concerns, and that's why he flipped.
Well, there's a couple questions here. Okay, so it's been what 10, 12 days since the United States went into Venezuela. Where are these oil tankers coming from? If we're controlling the country now, um, because where are they still filling up boats, and why? What's going on? That's number one. Number two, yeah, I mean, look, they were threatened, and they moved and flipped. I think it's unfortunate because the president did not run. He ran on America first. He didn't run on fighting wars all over the country. And the people who supported him, some of them now think it's okay. They're trying to justify it, but the truth is that because of the tariffs, this country's small business community in rural areas, and because of the bill that was passed that kicked a bunch of folks off of health insurance, and the fact that they're not going to put the subsidies back in, or maybe they will, but insurance rates are going through the roof. And let's hope they do, by the way. But all this stuff is a big problem within the country, and we're focused on Venezuela and Greenland and Iran and Cuba. I mean, it's certainly not what I think a lot of folks voted for.
You're starting to sound like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, well, Marge and I agree on some things, that's for sure.
Okay, last headline for today. Federal data shows about 1.4 million fewer people enrolled in Obamacare health insurance plans. That's after those ACA subsidies that you just talked about expired. Premiums went way up. Meanwhile, the House did pass a 3-year extension. It's now going to head to the Senate. We have some Trump loyalists like Senator Bernie Moreno saying that they need to extend this. So do you think that this is going to fare better than the war powers resolution, Senator?
Well, I wouldn't bet the farm on it, I'll tell you that. I don't I mean, I think it's yeah, I mean, truthfully, Democrats right now are trying to help Republicans from destroying themselves on these premiums. Because you have a bunch of folks that don't have health insurance. That means more charity care. And I know they've put a bunch of money in. And by the way, what the hell ever happened to conservative Republicans that were concerned about the debt? They don't exist anymore. But they put a bunch of money in, and now, they think that's going to save it. It's not. It's like giving farmers $12 billion for these damn tariffs. That is going to be a pittance compared to what has been lost in rural America. Same thing in the rural areas. They've funneled a bunch of money into the states, and the states are going to give it to the rural hospitals, and it's better than a slap in the face. But the truth is, it's not going to solve the problem. And until both parties, in a bipartisan way, come up with a plan that's going to be better than Obamacare or the Affordable Health Care Act, then this is where we are. And the truth is, in the meantime, while people are screwing around, these hospitals are put at risk of closure.
Oh, okay. Well, we were going to watch that. Again, we're going to be back live tomorrow, but let's play for you our conversation with Liz Landers, and we'll pick back up on the other side. I want to welcome right now to Grounded Liz Landers, White House correspondent for PBS News, and my friend and former coworker. So, Liz, you just did this piece for NewsHour about some of the language being used by this administration. It echoes the language of extremists. I want to play just a small clip here for our viewers.
There's this tweet from Friday, an ICE recruitment ad featuring the turn of phrase, "We'll have our home again," plastered over an image of a man on horseback and a stealth bomber flying in the distance. That's a reference to the song "We'll Have Our Home Again," a white supremacist anthem favored by the Proud Boys.
Oh, my God, we'll have our home. My God, we'll have our own.
Another image tells supporters to, quote, "trust the plan," the slogan of the right wing conspiracy theory known as QAnon, which posits there's a global cabal of pedophiles and deep state actors trafficking children, and that Trump is fighting it.
Okay, so I am gonna get your response here, but talk to us about some of this language and why it's important.
Yeah, the Trump administration has been using some of this language that is echoing, as you said, right wing language, some white supremacy language, really for the last few months now. And we started noticing this, and experts also started noticing this over the summer. There were a few posts that the Department of Homeland Security did in their push to recruit for some of their agencies like ICE and like Border Patrol, where they were echoing some of these, manifest destiny type phrases, but also have been interpreted and appropriated by some in the white supremacist movement in this country. And so this is something actually that the administration has been nodding to for a few months now. But last week we saw a number of posts, and those were some of the ones that you included there from the Department of Labor, from ICE, that were again repeating some of these messages and some of those themes. So it seemed to be a more coordinated effort across different types of agencies within the administration more recently.
So the when you did your investigative reporting, so it just isn't ICE where they're trying to appeal to these folks. It's Department of Labor, Department of Justice, and other agencies.
Yeah, so we found when we were looking at some of the social media posts and going through this that it has been largely coming from the Department of Homeland Security. So their official account has been posting some of these images, videos, and slogans as well. And also, the Department of Labor was posting the "Trust the Plan" um, thing, which was just a week ago, so early in January, and that is a QAnon turn of phrase, and, it's just kind of these subtle messages that if you know and you're looking for them, you see something that reflects, your values or what you're looking for in terms of messaging, and also that QAnon phrase, "trust the plan," is something that we have seen in the last several years. And as we noted in our story, QAnon was a big part of the ideology of people that showed up for January 6th and participated in the insurrection at the Capitol that day.
So I do think there's something important here that stands out to me, Liz, and you just mentioned it, but this isn't like in the past we've seen surrogates post something and maybe retweeted. These are actually on government
Yeah.
agency accounts and websites. And so we have seen some of this language being used in the past. And I have to say, your clip is being widely circulated on social media. I have seen it all over the place. And it
Yeah.
really stands alone as one of the major news outlets to be covering this right now in this moment, and I'm sure there are lots of reasons for that, including the, immense amount of news happening. But it is important to note this isn't new, but do you see it escalating from past examples we've seen?
I think that your point that you just made about this coming from official government accounts is an important one because my colleague Amna, who's the host of NewsHour, spoke after our report, so our kind of piece that where we looked at this and we showed all those examples, she spoke with Cynthia Miller Idris, who is a professor at American University and studies research. She researches extremism there, and Cynthia said to Amna that this she saw this as kind of a turning point. What's happening right now with how the administration is posting this, she called it a turning point in a shift to change people's minds, and she tied it to a lot of the work that we're seeing from the Department of Homeland Security and ICE in particular with what's happening on the streets in America right now. And there is so much video and images that are being shared from cities like Minneapolis or Charlotte or Chicago in the past few months where people are seeing, sort of with their own eyes what the government and some of these agencies are doing on the ground there. And Cynthia Miller Idris, kind of pointed to this as this turning point in terms of the administration trying to get a message across to people about what they want people to see as the work that they're doing across the country.
And this recruiting tool, is it a fairly new phenomenon, or has it been going on since the administration started?
So ICE got this huge surge in funding back in July, and that is when we started noticing more of these posts about this and the language and just some of the imagery and iconography that have been used, and this has been part of the recruitment efforts for ICE. So the Department of Homeland Security has set some really big numbers for new agents that they're trying to hire into ICE and other parts of the Department of Homeland Security in order to carry out many of these immigration policies that they're working towards. And so we saw this coinciding with the push for ICE recruitment. And now it's, obviously continued into the new year as we've seen these posts in the last few weeks.
Liz, I mean, like I said, your reporting on this is showing up all over my social media feed. Has the administration responded at all to the piece you did?
Not to this new piece, but we did some reporting in this same vein in the fall where we were talking about ICE recruitment, just specifically on that issue. And we asked about the social media posts and some of the concerns that we had heard from experts who said that they were trying to appeal to a certain set of people and hearkening to, either this white supremacist language or extremism rhetoric. And at the time, we got a response back from the Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security, Tricia McLaughlin, who said these are the types of smears that vilify our brave ICE law enforcement and are leading to a 100% increase in assaults against them. ICE only recruits patriotic professionals who have the integrity and moral compass to perform such critical roles in keeping America safe. So basically, the administration saying that, that's a smear, that's not the case. But if you talk to experts like we have, they see a through line and they say that there are some dots that are connecting here.
But this has been their defense on everything. This
Yes.
this has been their defense. Every time somebody asks a question, they go, "Well, that's a smear, and that's gonna hurt people," and all this stuff. I was always taught growing up, the truth will set you free, and that's why we love PBS.
Well, I do wanna play, I mean, um, like we said, there is so much chaos happening, and we know that that's partially by design, because Steve Bannon said early on, "Flood the zone." But I do wanna play this clip, Liz, because this also caught my attention from your reporting this week. Let's just play this, and we'll get your reaction on the other side.
And when it comes to Minneapolis, we're seeing images like yesterday of a woman who was stopped by federal agents. She was dragged out of her car. I know DHS always has a response to this as to why they're acting that way. There are Americans who see this and say this looks like Putin's Russia. What is your response to that?
That's ridiculous. You know what? In Minneapolis, if anyone, if, let's remember who set the stage here. First of all, the Biden administration let millions of people release millions of illegal aliens in this country in violation of the law. Many of them criminals because they weren't properly vetted. We're arresting thousands of them. So first of all, they created the problem with millions of illegal alien criminals in this country. Second of all, Minneapolis, you're a sanctuary city. You know, if they let us in their damn jail and stop being a sanctuary city, we could arrest the bad guy in the safety and security of a jail.
Okay, so that was Tom Homan at the White House, and you asking him the question. The White House borders are. I find it noteworthy, though, as I watch what's happening in Minneapolis, he didn't answer the question. And a lot of the people who are being arrested were not in jail.
The
Um,
wo Correct me if I'm wrong, Liz, but my memory serves me correct, the woman who was shot last week was an American citizen.
yes, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think part of the role of the press right now and part of how I see my job is we have the opportunity to be asking officials who are in real positions of power. Tom Homan, from my understanding from talking with folks and sources, is pretty empowered within the administration as the borders are. He's coordinating across different parts of the Department of Homeland Security, the White House, to a certain extent, the State Department, because they handle visas, and looking at immigration issues, broadly across the administration. So, that's why I wanted to ask him that question yesterday. I think, again, we were talking about, some of the videos that Americans have been seeing. A lot of this gets shared on social media, and the Department of Homeland Security often responds to those things and explains what their officers did and what their actions are. And, just another opportunity to ask Mr. Homan about an incident I think that a lot of people had seen on, I guess it was Tuesday at this point, of this woman being taken out of her car and sort of, you know, what Americans, some are reacting to seeing that and thinking, why is this happening in the United States? So, yeah, you heard his answer there.
And I mean, you've worked in DC for a long time in journalism.
Mhm.
Is there anything that stands out to you right now about this moment, especially being the White House correspondent for PBS, that is just starkly different from any other time you've worked in DC?
I mean, I covered the first Trump administration as a producer for CNN at the time, and there was a ton of news that we were covering. But even this administration and this Trump 2.0 is a lot more news than I think we were even trying to grapple with the first administration. And any given day, I'm, tracking what I would consider to be five or six major stories at a time. I'm thinking yesterday I was in the Oval Office, asking the president some questions about Greenland, a totally separate foreign policy issue, which is also a separate foreign policy issue than what's happening in Iran and how the administration is responding to that. What's happening in Venezuela right now, where the administration, recently extracted the dictator of Venezuela, versus the midterm elections that are coming up. Election administration is something that I've been covering closely for years. There is always a ton of news, and that is a difference from the first Trump administration and certainly from the Biden administration as well.
What, what's your next story?
What's our next story? Well, next week we're looking ahead to the 1-year anniversary of the president being reinaugurated. So I think we're going to be taking some, bigger picture look back at the last year of policy, and then the president is going to be also heading to Davos. I won't be traveling with him, but we've been told, sources have been saying that he's going to be talking about housing affordability, domestic housing affordability, which I think is interesting that he's going to be talking about that on a global stage like the World Economic Forum. So I think we'll be covering that as well. And I also know that that's, of course, an issue that a lot of Americans are, struggling with, is affording housing, electric bills, groceries, etc.
Okay, so let's just talk about PBS. I know Senator Tester has a lot of questions about PBS, but I mean, you're the PBS White House correspondent. What advantage does that give you that maybe others don't have who work for corporate media or have corporate owners?
Yeah, I feel really grateful to be in public broadcasting in this moment. And, our I think people who watch PBS know that we always say that the broadcast is possible with viewers like you and from donations like viewers like you, and that I think fuels our work. And I think we're trying really hard, and I think about this every day about presenting a fulsome story, a fact based story, a truthful story, um, and news and information every night to our viewers in our broadcasts. And I actually think we do a really nice job of presenting, both sides, various sides of an issue of a story to our viewer. And one of the benefits also of being at PBS right now is we have, we're an ad-free um, broadcast, which is not what most evening news broadcasts are, and we have a lot more time to talk about issues. The piece that you all have me on to discuss is, 2 or 3 minutes long. That's twice as long as the average report that you're seeing on an evening news broadcast, which is usually a minute or a minute and a half. Um, so all of those factors, in addition to us being independent and not having any kind of corporate ownership, means that we, I think, can report the facts and report the news for our viewers every night.
Can I ask something that matters, but it probably doesn't? So we've seen the president call reporters stupid and piggy and all sorts of stuff. You ever been called any names by the president for a
I've
question?
not. No, I've not. And we've not been in the press pool a whole lot, which is like a kind of complicated, wonky thing. But no, I have not. But I would say, it's you let that kind of roll off your shoulders. I think a lot of the reporters that you talk to privately say, okay, he can say whatever and people can interpret that however they want. I just want to keep asking the questions to get answers for the public.
And we should mention too that PBS NewsHour, Amna and Jeff, they won a Walter Cronkite Award this year for their coverage, and I'm glad you're part of that team now, Liz. I did want to ask though. I mean, we saw the Corporation for Public Broadcasting basically shut down. This comes after the $1.1 billion in cuts. The Republicans in Congress pushed over the last year. We saw PBS News Weekend abruptly canceled because of cuts. So how can people watching, viewers like you, how can people keep your reporting alive and strong and the important work done at PBS, not only nationally but at the local stations? How can we keep that funded?
It's such an important question right now because I do think that people saw that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting did close, and that elicited a lot of questions. I got texts and questions from friends and questions online from folks. And PBS NewsHour is still around, and many of the local PBS stations are also still around and delivering news to your community, which is so vital, I think, right now. The best way to help is to donate. Donate however much you can. You can donate to PBS NewsHour, to our national broadcast that we do, and you can also contribute to your local PBS stations. And even despite our funding cuts, we are still on the air delivering, I think, a really polished and smart, hopefully people think it's smart,
Mhm. It is.
news podcast every night, 5 days a week, for an hour long. So people can contribute online. That's the easiest way to do it. And hopefully we can keep delivering the news and reporting the news from Washington and beyond.
I just want to say thank you for the work you do. It's really important work, and it's one of the foundational elements to our democracy. And so, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you. I
you,
appreciate
Liz.
it. Thanks.
Oh, there we are. Hey, we just want to say thank you again to Liz. I do have to say, when we talk about journalism and the state of journalism, and I have these conversations a lot, a lot. Um, I see huge bright spots, and bright spots are independent journalists and like other folks here on Substack and in that community, and then that public space, public broadcasting, and forever, no matter where I've worked, when people say, "Where can you get news that you can trust?" and then it's straight down the line. I have always PBS has always been at the top of my answer list. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and I don't agree with you very often, so that's good. We, you really appreciate good journalists, and, I'm not somebody who analyzes journalists and talk about if they're good or bad, but she seems forthright, she seems honest, and I think she's pretty damn good.
yeah, she's pushing. I mean, the question she asked Tom Homan about what we're seeing in Minneapolis and saying that it looks like Russia. I mean, I want to let's play one of these really quickly. It's hard to watch, and so this is in Minneapolis. This is in the United States, and I appreciate Liz's question, even if he didn't answer it.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's the point. The point is that I don't know what the people in the Senate and the House are doing. I don't know if they just are out eating steaks and smoking cigars and not watching the news. But I'm gonna tell you, that is damn hard to watch because it's hard to think that this is the United States of America today. Man, oh man.
Yeah, and
I mean,
I could play
it's
you so many videos.
it's been said before, um, you know, when's it gonna be you? Okay? And look, I understand there's a lot of people that out there that say, "Well, you guys bitch too much. What are we gonna do?" Damn it, you gotta continue to get a hold of your representatives. I don't care if they're not listening or not. You gotta make them listen to what's going on in this country and what people on the ground are seeing that just doesn't fit with justice and freedom and equality and all the things that this country is built on. And then if you could do me a favor, just tell them to read the Constitution, you know, and tell them to worry about things that really matter in this country because they're not, and they're not doing their job. And they shouldn't be getting paid, by the way, because they're not doing their job. They shouldn't get paid. It's the way it is.
I could play you video after video after video, and, um, I will just say this, I don't know, this is just I don't know if I should, but I will say this, I am considering going over to Minneapolis next week to kind of see for myself what's happening, to talk to people. If I do that, we will do a show, of course, and we will go live on Substack, and I will show you what I see, and I will tell you what I hear. But I will say this about Minneapolis. This is not a city that's going to back down, and there are fighters, and this is, in the not in a bad sense of the word, but they are going to fight escalations here, and the one thing about Minneapolis is that it is a tight-knit community, and people stick together.
Yeah, well, Minnesota nice.
Minnesota.
Stand up for what they believe is right.
So we will be back tomorrow talking more about Minneapolis, a lot more about Minneapolis. We have our friend Liz Oyer coming on, the former pardon attorney. She's joining us again. She has been very, very informative, outspoken about what we're seeing within the DOJ and the ICE shooting and the presence in Minnesota. We are going to ask her all kinds of questions. I have a whole list already going. So if you have any questions that you want us to ask Liz, please let us know. We're going to be live with her tomorrow, Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 10:30 Mountain. That's it.
It's all
So
good.
what does your hat say? Is that a bicycle? No.
Nah, it's a brand. It's a brand. There's a guy out of Sealy, not Sealy, Ovando that, oh man, I tell you what, there's a guy out of Ovando that would come in and talk about some conservation issues with us all the time, part of the Blackfeet Challenge and all that good stuff, and he gave me a hat, so I figured I'd wear it. It's yeah.
That's nice. I thought it was a bicycle. Sorry,
Actu
but this
it actually was better than your M some comment.
better
Uh,
than Amazon.
this hat because I like this color, it goes with my shirt.
Yeah, look at that. You are, Juan Tesner, the fashion icon of,
Color damn coded, I'm telling you. It's good.
the fashion icon of North Central Montana.
A
Okay,
clothes horse. The clothes
that's
horse. It's
We want to again thank Liz Landers for joining us. We want to again thank our friends at Pearl Jam for letting us use their music. We want to thank all of you, our listeners and viewers who join us here. You can find us on Substack, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube. You can also shoot us an email at groundedpcast@gmail.com. We so appreciate you being in this community with us. Senator, would you like to say goodbye?
oh, tally ho.